Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR. What's the most profoundly beautiful piece of music you have ever listened to? Share it on our Spotify playlists. Ludovico Einaudi Fly is also a great one. Philip Glass Morning Passages also has to be up there. Also check out Ibby on YouTube. Bitter Milk is cerebral. Edit. Thanks for the award, kind stranger. Also, for those asking, I have seen The Untouchables. That's where I found the song Fly, Carrot. Even though I'd already discovered Ludovico Einaudi. His stuff is so awesome play, but it's not as satisfying to play as it is to listen to. Because it's so difficult to get it close to his level, haha. I'll have to check out Philip Glass some more. Also, I Journey, Fly, Melodia Africana 3, I think. It's either 3 or IV. Nuvo Bianca, Primavera, Elegy for the Architic, Night, and Dietro Lancanto are among my favorites. I have this huge piano book full of his songs that I regularly dig through and pick out my favorites. There are more that I like that are relatively underground, and some reuse sections of others. But they're all great, and I'll see if I can find some more for those interested. A playlist I want. Where you gonna put it? Seconded. Can we get a Spotify playlist from this thread? Please. Please. Clair de Lune by Debussy is without a doubt the most beautiful thing I have heard. Remember to always finish on the bar, never on Debussy. I prefer to Mahler up the Puccini until she can't handle it. Macaroni in a Pot, that's some Claude Debussy. Lacrimosa, I believe it was the last of Mozart's compositions. He wrote it as he was dying, which is very evident in the Requiem. He actually died about 8 bars into writing it, and so his apprentice finished it if I remember correctly. I think he did an amazing job of capturing Mozart's talent and feel in the piece. So many things to say about this. First, it was the last thing Mozart ever composed, but not the last section of the Requiem for which he wrote. In other words, he did parts of the Offertorian, Domini Jesu, Quamolum Abre, before touching the Lacrimosa. Then, he composed only the Introito and the Kyrie fully. For the rest it was just the bass, voices and some cues. Lacrimosa, composed about 8 bars. There are some recordings of the manuscript as Mozart left it. Due to the first point, the Lacrimosa is not where it ends, but it is very powerful. Here is such a recording. Lacrimosa starts in 2137 Requiem. There are several composers and musicologists that have tried to finish the Requiem. The best-known completion is Sussmayer's, because Constanze Mozart, the widow, asked him to do so at the time. The Bay edition tries to take out Sussmayer's mistakes and clean things up, but is very similar. The newer versions use a fragment for an Amen fugue after the Lacrimosa and changes a more extreme versus the Sussmayer version. Druce, Levin, Landon, Maunder. You can find recordings of these last 4 versions. There are others completions that to my knowledge have never been recorded. Favorite version is 11 completion conducted by Labadie. Be sure to listen to it. Edit. Thanks for the award. Mozart Requiem is an absolute masterpiece, and the Lacrimosa in particular never fails to bring me to tears. I can't imagine having music like that living inside your head and bringing it to fruition. ETA. If you enjoy the Lacrimosa, please add the second movement of Beethoven's 7th Symphony to your must-listen list. Simply amazing. The music living inside Mozart's head was so well formed that he was able to transcribe a song never heard outside of the Vatican after only hearing it twice. My absolute favorite figure of history and music. My now husband and I took a trip to Vienna last November and checked out Mozart's old apartment. So weird looking out of the windows and thinking about how a totally alien genius 250 years ago looked out of those same windows onto the same street and wrote some of his best compositions. That night we saw the entirety of Mozart's Requiem performed on a huge organ with a choir inside St. Stephen's Cathedral a few blocks away, and my guy proposed right after. As somber as Requiem is, I will always now associate it with that wonderfully unforgettable trip to Vienna, and looking out of Mozart's apartment at Domgasse. That's a great story. I suppose I should share the adorable backstory too now. My grandparents, who are my favorite people on earth, met after fleeing Hungary during the Revolution of 1956. It was very bad. My grandfather had been jailed for hiding his sister's escape, and my grandmother's brother was shot to death in the street by Soviet troops. My grandmother left for Vienna on alone and foot, around age 22, to meet her brother at a refugee camp there. Her brother had fled to Vienna a bit earlier with his wife and a co-worker. When my grandmother arrived, she was told only married couples were allowed to travel to America. She didn't know anybody there except her brother's co-worker, so they got married on the spot outside St. Stephen's Cathedral. My grandmother, clad in the only clothing she was able to bring, a navy blue skirt suit. They exchanged makeshift tin rings and were US bound with just $8. Anyway, they stayed married and madly in love for 56 years. After only having met in passing a couple times, my boyfriend knew how much my grandparents meant to me. My grandfather passed away a few years ago and my grandma is still alive at 85 and she's my very best friend. So he planned this whole thing just to propose after hearing a piece from my favorite composer. Inside the church my grandparents were married at. The icing on the cake is that the ring was a custom replica he had made of an aquamarine ring my grandmother had given to me on my 14th birthday. We are both March birthdays, which I had stolen from me years later in my late 20s. Thanks for reading. Nocturne Opus 9 No. 2. That is actually my favorite piece by Chopin. Not in opera at all, but Nessun Dorma by Pavarotti makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. On the back of this I took my mum to see an open-air philharmonic orchestra and it blew me away. If you've not seen one, trust me, go for it. I wanna make this short, but a good friend of mine is a vocalist and he does Nessun Dorma very well, but there's a video of Pavarotti. I'll post the link of him singing. It's not long before his death. And he was very ill at the time, but he still pushed out a huge performance, and I believe when he hit that last note, right after he throws his arms up and, if you look at his face, that he is completely at peace. Sea Shanty 2. Lo-fi sea shanties to study, swashbuckle to. Is this a thing? Please let this be a thing. U2.be. Debussy's De Arabesques, absolutely gorgeous piece of music. Yep, I love Clair de Lune and all, but the first time I heard the first arabesque, I just felt an overwhelming sense of peace and calm. It's a truly beautiful piece, and I hope to learn how to play it someday. I love Debussy. Sometimes all I can think about is Debussy. Adagio for strings. S. Barber. www.youtube.com update. Thanks for all the comments. It's thrilling to know that so many appreciate this brilliance. I first heard it in the film, The Elephant Man, back in 1980. Has stayed with me for a lifetime. First time I heard this piece, Homeworld. Carrick is burning. Eric Satie, Gymnopédie No. 1. Gymnopédie No. 1 as beautiful as Gymnopédie No. 1 is. I think I'd need to give Nocien No. 1 the nod over it. It's such a perfect piece that translates well to other instruments playing it solo. Great stuff. Hot damn, I love this thread. Good answer. Something haunting and melancholic and yet beautiful about that piece. Wistful, nostalgic. Thanks for reminding me of it. Jupiter from the Planets by Holst genuinely makes me cry. Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto 2. Little Wing. Love Little Wing. If you have the time, the Stevie Ray Vaughan version is a treat. Is that the one where he didn't even say a word? Were you looking for the word instrumental? Edit. Classic Reddit. I post music all over this comment section about music, but this is the comments that you all upvote. Shine On You Crazy Diamond, Pink Floyd. It was a farewell. An acknowledgement, if you would, of their original guitarist Syd Barrett having quite literally lost himself to psychedelic drugs. He at 21 to 22 got famous and started taking shitloads of LSD. Just all the time, high as a kite. He stopped showing up to rehearsals, stopped contacting them, and it reached a point where they realized they needed to cut him out, as he was a decision maker in the group as well. The entire album is incredible, and I believe in its entirety a farewell to Barrett. But Shine On, Parts 1 and 2, it's the first and last song, is just a beautiful, mostly instrumental lamentation of their lost friend, that they know they'll never get back. Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin. I will never forget the first time I heard it. It just hit me as so deeply beautiful, and I really can't explain why. It is a masterpiece. Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. I was 14 and took an orchestra class to learn violin. I was required to go to a concert. At the time I was into angsty screamo. I can still vividly remember hearing that song live. The cellos are incredibly moving. The music transported me to a different place. I became obsessed with learning the violin and got quite good. I still play for my kids each night. The reason I decided to date my wife was she invited me to the opera. Most women I was going out with at the time were more into rock concerts, clubs, or going out shooting and rock climbing. We go to the opera about 4 times a year. Not now with COVID, and while I still listen to plenty of other genres, I owe a lot to that incredible memory of Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. Sigur Rós Svefn G. Ingla. Had to scroll too far to find Sigur Rós. You could pick any of a dozen of theirs for this and I'd agree. Personally love this one. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. Sometimes in life we lose loved ones we just wish were here with us. There are so many Pink Floyd songs that work for this. I actually first heard Hey You in the movie The Squid and the Whale. It plays a part in the plot of the movie that most people had not heard it, and a character played it as if it was original. Before the reveal I was reeling. Like holy crap, they wrote this beautiful song for this throwaway scene in this movie. Nope, Pink Floyd wrote it decades earlier. Because they kick butt. Frédéric Chopin, Prelude in E minor, Opus 28 No. 4. Piano Sonata No. 14 inches. Moonlight Sonata, by Beethoven is the most beautiful piece of music I've ever heard. Every note feels like anguish. To me, I can feel a sense of hesitation between notes sometimes. I've always struggled with my inner self, not knowing who I am, what I'm made to do, why I'm here, what makes me go, that sort of stuff, and I've never known how to communicate that to anyone. This piece by Beethoven felt like it was communicating to me, like it was describing what I feel inside. I don't know, it's always spoke to me, and its raw emotion and the way it pokes at my soul is what I imagine true beauty really is. The third movement of that piece, Presto Agitato, is an absolute banger. I never get tired of hearing all the voices battling each other. U2.be. Hands down my favorite movie of all time. You might be the only person I've ever seen reference this movie on Reddit. That movie is criminally underrated. Exit music, for a film by Radiohead. Freaking masterpiece. I think How to Disappear Completely is their best work. Since this comment is getting somewhat popular, I'd like to point out the bass in this song. The way it pops in and out of existence like it's disappearing is the cherry on top. Honestly, and I have simple taste, the Jurassic Park theme by John Williams, no matter how many times I hear it, I get goosebumps. M83 Wait. This or M83 outro. Their entire vibe is beautiful. Outro is the music I hope to hear when I die. I get chills just thinking about it. Beautiful intensity. Pink Floyd, Great Gig in the Sky. I cry every damn time I listen to it. Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. It's so freaking sad and real and beautiful. It makes my grown butt man self cry every time. For single movements, probably the Moldai by Smetana. For symphonies, Dvorak's New World. God Only Knows by Brian Wilson, even though you definitely been suggested it before. White Winter Hymnal, Fleet Foxes. Anytime I get new headphones, I play this song first. Snake Eater. Thanks for watching LWIAR. The best of recent r/AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out LWIAR too, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.